Welcome to Lighting for Profits.
All light, all light, all light.
Powered by Emery Allen.
Get rid of your excuses.
Your number one source for all things landscape lighting.
That's where the magic can happen. You can really scale a business.
We really had to show up for each other.
From lighting design, install, sales, and marketing.
You're a scaredy cat salesman, Kurt.
We discuss everything you need to know to start and grow a successful landscape lighting business.
What do you think a hippo has to do with your business, Ryan?
Usually it's some weird childhood thing. Some bully kicked your butt.
I think the key factor here is trust.
Here is your host, Ryan Lee.
All light, all light, all light. Welcome. Welcome to the number one landscape lighting show in the Beehive State. That's right. Coming to you live from the Landscape Lighting Secret Studios. I'm Ryan Lee. I'm your host of Lighting for Profits, powered by Emery Allen. Gosh, I love this show. I love this time of the week that I get to do this, meet amazing guests, spend some quality time with you guys here. If you're here live, say hello in the comments. And if you've got any questions for our guest or want to be part of the conversation, don't forget to join. Just love this show, you guys, and extremely grateful that I get to be able to do this. So if you're looking to start or grow a landscape lighting business, you're definitely in the right place. We're here to educate and motivate to help you dominate. And really could not do this without your support. Yes, I'm pretty persistent and dedicated, but if people weren't listening, people weren't giving me reviews, I would probably be tempted to give up. So I really could not do this without you guys. If you have not given us a 5-star review, go to Apple, go to Spotify, hook us up. Would really, really appreciate your support in that regard. Couple of quick announcements. And by the way, guys, today's show, I'm really, really excited. I was excited, putting the show together or whatever, but I spent a few minutes with our guests before we go live. And this one's going to be a good one. It's going to be really, really good. We got Nick Smith. I don't even know who we have on the show, guys. Nick South with So Tell Us. And super cool, dude. Got an awesome story. We're going to unpack that. We're going to peel back his story because just in the little bit of time that we were talking before, I started getting super motivated. And I was like, man, this guy's a total stud. So make sure you stick around. We're going to have him on in just a few minutes. And just a couple of announcements before we have Nick South, not Nick Smith. Come on. What are you thinking? We're a couple announcements. Huge convention coming up. It's soon, August 24th, 25th. I actually get to speak this year. I'm so excited. I've been going the last few years, but this time I was invited to speak, and I cannot wait. It's going to be so cool. So if you guys are thinking about going, now you should make the decision to go and come see me. I'm putting a link in the comments where you guys can get a discount ticket to come to the Huge. So it's just in a couple weeks. They've got discounted room block at a hotel, all that stuff. But I'm going to have a booth there. I'm going to be speaking there. So make sure you come say hi. Would love to see you there. And then the following month, which is this is coming up in like 6 weeks or whatever. I'll be in Tampa, September 12th and 13th. Also going to put a link in the comments to the Garden Light LED Dealer Congress. This is going to be an amazing event. I'm going to be there, but Jan Moyer is going to be there. So landscape lighting legend herself is going to be there teaching. Brandon Miles. Brandon, if you have not met Brandon, he helps me teach landscape lighting live. And everyone who meets Brandon instantly falls in love with him. He's a cool dude. He's been in the business a long time, over 25 years. He's going to be there teaching as well. So make sure you check that out and come see us September 12th and 13th in Tampa, Florida. We're going to do a tour of the Garden Light facility as well. So really, really cool. And then finally, September, like the week after that, September 20 and 21, I'm going to be in Nashville again for my first ever, guys. We're doing a Landscape Lighting Secrets members only event. So if you've been on the fence of like, well, should I look into Landscape Lighting Secrets? Is it really for me? This is the time to look into it, okay? Because you've got the only way to come to this event is be a member of Landscape Lighting Secrets, and it's going to be an amazing event where it's a members only. There's going to be networking, roundtables. We're going to have some speakers, but it's going to be a really, really different event than most because it's not just like listen to people from the stage and there's no trade show thing, anything like that. It's really, really cool. It's kind of like a mastermind event. So that's September 2021. So if you're thinking, should I join Landscape Lighting Secrets? Do it before then because it's going to be the first annual for members only. And then finally, go help me out and donate. We did a little thing on GoFundMe for our 100th episode, which was like 10 or 11 episodes ago now. It just like blew by. But we're trying to get 100 donations to help SEVA, which is an organization that helps blind people. And for just $50, they do these cataract surgeries, and people have vision in these third world countries. And it's amazing because poverty is not eliminated, but people who are blind typically can't take care of themselves, and they have a harder time working and all these things. So when they have vision, it helps with so many different things. And I am personally grateful for my vision because I love lighting, and it's amazing. Lighting's changed my life, and I'm just extremely grateful. So this is a organization that I'm trying to help out. We're just looking for 100 donations, so it doesn't even matter how much you donate. I don't care if it's $5. Just looking for a donation on there. So I put the link in the comments as well. And with that said, I just also want to remind you, I am offering free strategy sessions. So if you are interested in finding out more about landscape lighting or Landscape Lighting Secrets, the coaching program, just go to landscapelightingsecrets.com and schedule a free session with me. So that's all you got to do. All right. I want to thank Emery Allen for their partnership. You know, what's the best way to stand out of the crowd? You know this, being different. So set yourself apart from others in the lighting industry and impress your customers by installing Emery Allen bulbs in your next project. You'll discover a higher level of quality across the board, from the bulbs themselves to the top-tier customer support you can expect to get if you have any issues or questions. Right now is the best time to make the switch. Guys, a lot of people are doing it. I travel around the country now, and they're catching on. They're listening to the podcast, and they're reaching out to Emery Allen, so don't get left behind. The best way to get your best contractor pricing, email Tom G at emeryallen.com, and he'll get your account set up, get you that discounted contractor pricing. So thank you, Emery Allen. Really appreciate your guys' support. All right. What's up, Brian, the lighting lizard in the house? Thanks for being here, buddy. If you got any questions for myself or our guest, Nick South, let me know in the comments when he joins. Again, in just a couple minutes, guys, we've got Nick South with Sotellus, and we're going to talk about Sotellus, of course. They've got a really cool solution and a product solution, whatever you want to call it, for business owners. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, the guy's really cool. He's got an awesome story, and I promise you, you're going to leave today a transformed individual. Just hearing a little bit about his story and some of the things that he's overcome and how he's doing now. He's super motivating. So excited to have him on in just a couple minutes. Before I do, I want to share a story real quick. I'm reading this book right now. I'm not even done with it. It's called The Mountain Is You by Brianna Wiest. And what's up, Tom Garber in the house? Thanks for being here. Appreciate your support. This book, though, I'm not even done with it, but I was reading some things. I'm taking notes, and I just want to share some things because it's super impactful for me. And I'm sure that someone out there is going to be able to benefit from this. So I don't even remember if I got this from the book or just from something else, but I wrote down that our biggest expense, I've heard some people say our biggest expense is the sale we didn't get or something like that. But I think the biggest expense we have is the cost of not knowing something. All right. So think about that for a minute. All the things that you didn't know before that you do know now, like how much value is that? And what about all the things that we don't know, we haven't learned? How much would we pay to be able to get that information, right? So what the book talks about is people regret, they have more regret about things that they didn't do as opposed to the things that they did do. Now, I'm not trying to get and go do crazy stuff that you will regret later, but a lot of times we regret not taking action. I should have done this. I should have done that, right? So if you've ever had those thoughts, you've ever said those things out loud, that's what we're talking about here. And so think about that. Like, what are some things that you could be doing right now that you're not, that you might regret later, right? And here's the thing that I regret is, some people's like, I don't have regrets. Like, I live life to the fullest. Like, I feel like we all have regret, and that's okay, because it just means that we haven't lived up to our full potential. And that's a motivating thing for me. I'm like, yeah, if I have regret, I'm like, well, that's okay. That means I didn't max out, right? I didn't live to my full potential. So what is your full potential? What does your dream life look like? Have you ever really paused to think about it? And maybe have you paused long enough to write it down, to really get specific on it, and then put a plan in place to get there? A lot of times I'm like, yeah, I want a private jet. Okay, well, like, do you? Like, if you do, like, what are you doing to get there, right? Is it just a fantasy or is it a dream? So what are you doing? Like, what are those action items that are getting you closer to achieving your dream? Manifesting is always good, but without action, you're not going to get anywhere, right? So ask yourself, what are you doing to get out of your current situation? And while, yes, we should be grateful and appreciative of where we're at, because chances are we're better today than we were yesterday. If it's not in our dream, then I believe that we should take action to get out of our current situation, right? Because if your dream really is bigger than your current situation, you're not going to be happy, right? So don't feel guilty for making that change. So there's a couple of recommendations I'd say to be able to do this. And the first thing is really just kind of understanding like why you are where you are. Okay. So for whatever reason, human beings are meant to live. We all have a comfort zone, right? And I feel like we're meant to live in the comfort zone. Like some people like their thermostat at 72 degrees, some like it at 70, some like it at 66, some are fine at 78, right? Um, so being comfortable when it's not too hot, not too cold. So we're not meant to live outside of our comfort zones. And here's the thing about it. It's not comfortable to change, right? So stay with me. It's not comfortable to change. So when we experience success and make more money, that's not comfortable because it's more than you currently have. And what you have right now is actually comfortable, right? So you can say all you want about, well, you want more money, but then what happens when you get it? You spend it. And that's not really the fault of your own, right? It's because you're used to not having money. So most of us are in a state of wanting all the time. So when we get what we want and we have, and we're living in the state of having, that's uncomfortable, right? This sounds like some wordplay or whatever, but it's not. Like when we want, we're actually comfortable because we've wanted our whole lives. Like our whole lives have been in the comfort zone. So when we get that thing and we have, boy, it feels unnatural. It's like, wait, I don't know. I feel a little bit guilty. Am I greedy? Like, am I a bad person now? So I'm going to self sabotage. I'm going to go spend all this money so I can get back in that state of want. Right. And I'm reading this book thinking, holy cow, like all these things are going off. And I'm like, that's me. Like I self sabotage all the time because I don't need more than I have. Because if I need more than I have, then I'm greedy and I'm wanting and da da da. And I'm not grateful. It's like, that's not true. Okay. And so what happens is we need to get out of this state because we're not living our dream life, right? And so here's how to solve it. Um, Most of you, myself included, will self sabotage at different levels of our life. And so I want to ask you a question real quick, and I want you to respond to this in your mind. I know you're not here with me, but respond to this in your mind within like 2 seconds. Like, don't give it any thought. Just give me your natural reaction. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and you have 1 to 2 seconds to respond. Like, don't even think about it. So, would you rather have $1 million today or a penny that doubles every day for 30 days? So answer that question right now in your mind. Don't even think about it, right? Now, when someone asked me this question, my immediate reaction, just no thinking, I mean, a million a day, a million today. Like that's freaking awesome, right? A penny doubling every day for 30 days. Well, when you run the numbers on this, on day 30, it's up to what is it, $5.3 million. And then you go one more day to 31, you're at 10.6 million. And then 20 million, 40, 80, 160, 320, whatever. I mean, the numbers go crazy. But what's interesting is if you look at the curve on this, like it's very slow. Like you double a penny, you get 2 cents. Whoop-de-doo. 4 cents, 8 cents, still nothing sexy, nothing attractive. 16 cents, 32. Holy cow. 64 cents. I don't care. $1.28. Nothing. Right. It takes a while, but then finally on the days in the 20s, upper 20s, you start getting into some massive, massive money. Right. It's a very flat curve for most of the time. And then bam, it's a sudden growth curve. Right. So think about you in your life. Okay. Are you playing the short term, trying to double pennies and getting frustrated? Like, gosh, how many times I got to double this thing? Like, when's it going to pay off? Right. Or do you know that it's going to happen and you're going to hit that growth curve? Because most people aren't patient enough for success. And getting back to the comfort zone, if you're not willing to do things in small increments, it's not going to work. Think about like fitness is like the easiest one that comes to mind because a lot of people want to look good. They want to feel good, right? So they're like, I'm going to do this diet. Like, we need to ask Nick because he's like a fitness guy. But diets, in my opinion, don't work because they're changing too drastically. Like, I'm just going to suddenly not go with sugars. Like, I have to have sugars. I have to have caffeine. Like, that's what I'm doing, right? So let's say you're like, well, I want to read more. Well, instead of trying to like read a book in the next 7 days, what if you just read a page a day, right? To get you started. What if you just doubled that penny today because you knew that 30 days from now it's going to be worth 10 million, right? What if you want to start meditating and you're like, I don't know how to meditate? Well, meditate for 10 seconds. Don't start with 5 minutes because you're not going to be able to do it and it's going to feel uncomfortable, right? Uh, maybe again, the workout thing. Like, I want to go get jacked, right? And with the fitness, you always see the before and after, but you don't see that huge curve where it was like a bunch of stuff, a bunch of stuff, a bunch of stuff, and then the change start to happen. Okay, I've been doing 120. Well, I haven't even been doing 125 push-ups a day, but started with 20 a day a year ago. Now I'm doing 125, and finally, people are noticing my pecs, baby. It didn't happen in the first 30 days, and it's barely happening now, 12 months later, right? Probably not on here. I got to like go at an angle or whatever. But I'm not doing it for that. But it does feel good when people are like, dude, you work out? I'm like, kind of. But start small, you guys, because otherwise you're going to get outside your comfort zone. You're not going to be willing your body's not going to be able to put up with that. So if you can change your comfort zone step by step, small bites, then you're always going to be in the comfort zone. Right. So, I know I went fast on that stuff because when I reread like these sections and like I'm still processing this stuff, but that's my advice for you today is make small changes at a time because that's going to help you stay comfortable. And I'm telling you, like, you get the money too fast, you're not going to be comfortable. You're going to spend it so that you can get back into that state of wanting as opposed to the state of having. All right, guys, it's time. That's enough about me. I think it's time to get to our guest. I'm excited to have him on. So let's get the music going. If you guys are ready, let me know. What's going on, buddy? Welcome to the show, Mr. Nick South.
Hey, how you doing, Ryan? I'm glad to be on here, my friend. Thank you for having me.
Super excited to have you on. I mean, I was excited. I think I met you. I can't remember if I met you at one of the shows. I met the brothers at one of the shows. I'm like, okay, I got to have these guys on the show, but really enjoyed our discussion before. I'm like, heck yeah, now I'm fired up. So thanks for being here.
Nah, man, I appreciate you having me on here. Excited to talk about some of that stuff, and like we were talking about before the show, it was funny because like I said, in one of my groups that I'm in a part of, one of my coaching groups, one of my guys is just like, I posted that graphic of us on the podcast, and my buddy within 5 minutes is like, Nick South's going on Ryan Lee's podcast. He's like the landscape lighting master. And I was just cracking up. I was like, yeah, man, I'll be on Tuesday.
That's so awesome, man. Like that seriously like makes my year. I'm like, wait, what? Other people know about this podcast? Like, so how's that even possible? That's awesome.
Yeah, I think even one of our other guys does some form of landscaping and tree trimming. I think he mentioned too. He's like, oh, that's sick, man, awesome. I was like, yeah. So yeah, you're out there, man. You definitely got some
That's
vibes
so
on
cool.
you.
No, that's so cool. That's way cool. I'm extremely like humbled when I hear that. It's like I'll go to an event that I don't know. I'm just going there or whatever, and someone's like, "Can I get your picture?" I'm like, "I guess." Like I don't. I'm just a nobody, just so you know. But yeah, it's nice. So I appreciate that. So
Course, man.
obviously we're going to talk about Sotellus. You guys have an amazing product, amazing solution, a lot of ways to help people listening and watching this. But before we do, I kind of want to get to know you a little bit. So tell us about Nick South. How'd you get your start? Were you just born an all-star and life is easy for you or what? You're born ripped.
Definitely, man. Yeah, just came into the world, had millions of dollars. Life was great.
Yeah.
Nah, man. But yeah, we had a very, very short discussion about it. But I, for me growing up, I had a very different kind of childhood than a lot of people. And it's crazy because when I tell a lot of people about how I grew up, like their like eyes get big and they're like, what are you talking about? And it's funny because they don't know why I laugh so much at it. And I'm like, you have no idea how grateful. Like I really have the gratitude that I have for the challenges. Like, my and if there's any TMI, obviously you just let me know. but
Hey, this is a live show, so anything you say can and will be used against you. There's no editing, so just go for it, man.
Yeah,
We're
man. I
we're
mean,
we're vulnerability 101 here.
yeah, ain't nothing that anybody who knows me doesn't know or knows my family. But I grew up. My mother was very young. She was 17. And she had me. My father was a little bit older. Dad was in jail a lot when I was younger. Me and my father have a great relationship now. One of my best friends. My mother just hasn't been in my life for over a decade. But I grew up to I was born into a very poverty-stricken household. Made no money at all. We always lived in apartments. My dad had three other kids and paying child support on different other women. So like we never had money. Um, and both of my parents, unfortunately, during those times were, on drugs and stuff like that. So I could tell you since the age of 7, I've been helping with bills. Like at 7 years
Crazy.
old, come in, pick out certain things in your room. We had little as it was, but they're like, you got to pick something out. Like everybody's contributing. And so it's like, go grab the nearest couple things that you might have. Then we take them to the pawn shop. And that's kind of how we paid our bills. Growing up, everything was survival. It was just like, how do we live to next week, next month? Next year wasn't a thought. So it was 30 days at a time. And yeah, it's definitely different. The day of my 16th birthday, it was like I was woken up at 6 a.m., said, hey, get up, you have a job interview. And I was like, cool. Like I've already been doing this for so long, so I started
What was
working
your
as a
first job?
bag boy for Fry's groceries.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was the way I started helping out. Shortly after that, my mom left. She fell into her thing even worse, and my father decided he wanted to try to get clean. So I helped him out, and I was living by myself at that point, basically, because we couldn't survive. My dad's a construction worker, so if you want to get a lot of hours and make good money, like decent money, you have to get 60 plus hours a week. So minimum. So my dad had to go out of town, go to different states to make his money. And then I stayed back for weeks on end, months on end, and just kind of held the house down by myself. And just, I get off at midnight, walk back home, um, and just kind of lived like that, man. Just kind of thought that's what life would be like. We finally decided to just get out of there. We were like, why do we still live around this area? I didn't have a single friend that wasn't on drugs or doing some craziness. So we decided to move all the way from the west side and stuff of the valley over to more of this east valley, towards, and the area, Gilbert and stuff. And it was awesome. I mean, I loved it over here. It was the first time, being around a different type of influence. Difference to get into because by the time I was 16, I had some weird things. Like my mom had taken me to what the young kids would call like a trap house. It got me
Oh
a
my gosh,
tattoo on my chest, by myself at a coffee table. So,
that's
coming
awesome.
to, so
So
yeah,
was this like this? Was this like the impetus of it? Like now all of a sudden you change the scenery, new friends, new influencers, I guess.
yeah. So it was a big thing. Me and my dad had to sit down. And me and my dad, it's more of like a, we got each other type of relationship. He wasn't in the position to kind of be like, I'm your, you like a fatherly more role. It's like more of like, hey, we got each other's back role, which was great. And so we decided we're like, we got to move out of here. This area is not helping us. We're gonna fall back into these same things. We need to get away. And Gilbert at the time was really kind of coming up barely, but it wasn't really well known. And it's hard to find places to rent when you have felonies. Not me personally, obviously, but my father. So only certain places you could really go to
Hmm.
rent. So especially with the income that we had, so we ended up getting very lucky, man. I would say blessed, and going to a place in Gilbert, some rental, and yeah, man, I started meeting all these different types of people. Like the schools were different, and we just wanted to surround ourselves with literally better people that we knew of. And also, like I've done mixed martial arts most of my life, so they had a great wrestling schools down here. And where I went, wasn't great wrestling, and stuff like that. So it was also kind of cool for me and helped me out, being able to do that. But yeah, as far as that move went, and then from there on, man, we just kind of grinded. I helped keep my dad in place. He helped keep me in place, and we just helped each other out. I was able to save.
Who was your first mentor?
So it's really weird. So like, I would say my first kind of like mentor in a way was actually one of my dad's buddies I've known since I was 7. Crazy enough, this man he's still got 3 years left. He'll be a total of 30 years in prison. And it was
Oh
one
my
of my
God,
first real mentors. And
that's
then
crazy.
after, yeah, so believe it or not, one of the greatest men I've ever met. This man is spiritually very inclined. He's physically fit, mental fortitude of a master. But yeah, I just fell into some trouble. And once I got to this new school, I met this mentor. This was my second mentor that changed my life. And it was one of my wrestling coaches. He was just an assistant guy. I didn't know he was making really good money. I was like, why are you? He just came in to help wrestle because he loved wrestling. It was a passion. He wanted to give back to the kids because of what the sport had done for his life. And once I hit about like 18, 19, I kind of saw how limited my options were. I was a kid that my dad told me that I wouldn't even pass high school, and I barely did. So,
You
uh,
almost fulfilled his manifestation.
yeah, well, he had to pay out. He had to give me some headphones, so that was our bet. So yeah, so I ended up meeting this guy a couple years later after it was right after I graduated, a couple months after that. I go into the wrestling room because I like to help coach the kids, and I'll never forget this moment. This man comes into the room, and he had worked with me one-on-one throughout the season prior when I was still in high school and stuff, so we were really cool. But he never talked to me about any type of like mentoring. It was just wrestling coaching. And this man comes up to me, and I'll never forget. He goes, "Hey, man," he's like, "How you doing?" Blah blah blah. Like, "I'm doing good, man." He looks me in the face. He goes, "What's wrong?" And I was like dumbfounded. I'm like, "Who's this fool telling me what's wrong? What do you mean what's wrong?" I was like, "I'm good, man." He's like, "What's wrong?" That was the second time. Then I started coming down. I was like, "Why do you keep asking me?" I was like, "Dude, I'm fine." He asked me one last time. He goes, "Nick," he goes, "what's wrong?" And I had never had this happen. I just started bawling. I feel like I'd never been asked that question almost. Like, I felt very alone. I didn't really have my father too much just because it wasn't his fault. Had to go provide, had to do my part. Mom's gone. So to have this man that I didn't know too well on a personal level to come over and ask me something like that, I was like bumfounded. And he took me out of there. We ended up leaving the group and just went off to his house. And he just starts doing this thing and talking to me. So shortly after, he starts letting me come to his house and he starts coaching me. I didn't know what it was at the time, but he started coaching me. And I started going there 2, 3 days a week. I saw this man's house and I was like, what? How we were talking earlier, like I had never even really lived in a house. I only lived in apartments growing up. So I thought to own a home, you had even to live in one, just rent. I didn't even really understand renting and owning. I thought you had to be rich. I thought only rich people lived in homes. Like, this is crazy. And he's got the nice car, he's got a beautiful wife, all these cool things. And I just look at this man's life and I'm like, I don't know anybody like that. I'm like, this dude has the life I would dream of. Something I didn't even think I'd be worthy of ever getting.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
love I
so
love by the way that he's, like a lot of times when you check in on friends or anything, something like that. Hey, how's it going? What's your natural reaction? Like you say it without even thinking, like, oh, I'm good. And you could be dying inside. You could be doing terrible. And it's like, I'm good. So that guy knew, like something's not right here. And he asked you not 2, but 3 times. And I think that's why you're like, wait a minute. Like, no one's ever asked me, probably even once, how I'm doing, what's wrong, and then twice, and then 3. I mean, that's got to be emotional. And I think that's what I'm taking away from it right now is like I need to do a better job checking out on people and like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Good. No, how's it really going? No, it's good. No, tell me how it's really going. All right, and peel back that onion and make sure that we're all doing okay. That's cool. He did that.
yeah, man. I mean, just as you're talking about it, man, I'm starting to get a little emotional off of it because of as we'll get into like how my life's changed so much. But this is a really cool thing in our coaching is like, we hit on these 4 F's, and it's family, it's faith, it's fitness, and it's finances. And for the family part, there's 2 things. You got to talk to 2 people. You got to do one family member. You have to lean into one family member. Typically for me, that usually is my wife or my children. And then you have to lean into one friend. So our thing is if you don't have somebody specifically, and everybody can, but eventually you'll hit up the same people if you're trying to stay in your tight circle. So we do mandatory scroll and dial. You have to go in your contacts, boom, boom, boom,
Random.
wherever that thing lands, you reach out to that person because that you don't know that's that person that might need you that day. You
That's
don't
cool.
know.
So catch us
And
up.
yeah.
So because you mentioned the coaching, like you've
Mhm.
gone through this like crazy childhood and everything, but now you're with Sotellus. You've also hired coaches. I mean, you've paid some big money to be in
Yep.
these coaching programs, more than some people pay for houses and stuff. So what are you doing now? Where are you at today?
Yeah, so that same coach guy, so the way it originally started was this man said, "You come here 2, 3 days a week." And he was very hard. He said, "You come here one day and you didn't do what I told you to do." He's like, "Don't come back." So like I had to go all in. I think this is a very big thing for anybody who's deciding to do coaching because if you're going to be coached by somebody like, like let's Ryan, like you're looking to somebody who is in a certain spot that you want to be in, which means that you need to be willing to do what they did and that's go all in. So, shortly after that, my life started changing, meeting this man. He's the one that actually hooked me up with a guy who used to work at Sotellus, and I kind of replaced him and then just obviously climbed through the ranks. So it's crazy. He so from there on, I started in another group because once I got married and I started once I started making good money, like I was doing good. I was living a horrible neighborhood. There's murders very consistently. There was SWAT raids, like I was gonna say ghetto birds, but I have helicopters and stuff like on a daily basis. Like it was not an uncommon thing to see a police raid your home or an apartment. So I started making good money, and I'm like, okay, I didn't really care too much. Our rent was $600. $600. I'm like, I'm just stacking chips away on the daily, but then eventually, my wife gets pregnant. We just get married. She ends up getting pregnant. And I'm like, awesome, cool. We're getting out of here. So my promise to her, and which can proudly say that I kept, was 6 months into your pregnancy, you'll never work again. Don't ever worry about it. I'll figure it out. And I said, by the time this baby's here, we'll have a house. My daughter was born the day we were signing our papers, and they had to come and bring those papers to the hospital so we could sign them.
Nice. That's awesome, dude.
So
How old
yeah.
were you at this point?
I was probably I'm 26, so this is in 2019. So I was 22
Okay, so 22 years old, going from the ghetto to buying your first house already.
in a gated community.
That's
Very,
awesome.
very something that I was the youngest homeowner. I was one of the only homeowners ever in my family, but the youngest by far. My father didn't own his first house until about 50 years old. So definitely something the first day we get out the hospital. I have a half hour to get down, get the keys. I go in that house and I just cry. You know, you just give my thanks and just like I can't believe I'm here. Craziest part is shortly after that, move in, my baby, right? Starting life. I realize I'm like, holy crud. Like, I don't really know how to be a husband. Like, I don't really know how to be a father. Like, and I don't say this towards my dad. Like I said, I love him to death, but I didn't have those examples. And my dad's very open about this stuff, but I did not have the example of what I needed to be. I didn't know how to be the person I wanted to be. And this is where the coaching came in again. I said, hey, dude, I don't know where I'm at. My coach is like, here, I'm going to put you with this other guy. His name's Luke. And they run something called Fathers of the Future. It's more local. And I go through some crazy crucible. I do all this other stuff. And next thing you know, man, I'm becoming like, in my eyes, like the greatest father and the greatest husband I could be on a daily basis. Like I still have flaws. I still mess up. But the coolest part is knowing every day I'm working to be better at it. And
Mhm.
then one crazy thing is that when you get your other three houses in order, the fitness, the family, the faith or focus, right? Like meditation. I love that you brought that up. I do meditation daily. Everybody in our group does. It's a mandatory thing before you start your days. Get at least 10 to 15 minutes in. But just the finances fell in order even more. I just started making more money. And I was like, holy crud, this is insane. So like I started doing more money. I started doing this. And like you brought up earlier, we all have a desire to when you said what aligned with me was the desire for growth. Like we're always wanting because we always want to be better. That's just us, especially as men. Like it's a biological thing. We look to, like, let's say, conquer. We just want to conquer the next target, the next goal. So I'm like, I started feeling like I've progressed every year pretty dramatically, but then I just started like, man, like I'm feeling stuck. Like I'm not moving at the pace that I really like. So this coach ended up my first mentor, not the one in prison, but my first like real mentor and stuff. Chase ended up he ends up coaching in this group that I'm in now. He's like invites me out to an event. I'm at the first event they ever ran. And now this group's a couple years in. I mean, their ticket's huge. It's $30,000 minimum. So I end up going, or they have some different tiers now, but at the time it was 30,000, 36. And I was like, okay, I'm making good money, but I'm like, what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead. Yeah. Did you join it?
So get this. This is the craziest part. I had just saved up that money, that it's like almost exact amount. I just saved up that money because I was going to buy my wife an SUV because we had one car, just a car we were sharing, and we had our second kid on the way. She's 6 months pregnant. And I have to go home after going to Nashville to come home and tell my wife, and we make decisions together, but I told her, I was like, hey, like, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. Like, I want to talk to you about it, but I feel like I need to do this. I was like, this group is going to help me explode massively in the financial F, but all these other Fs and keep me in line. I was like, I think I need to do this. And my wife, being the saint that she is and the supportive wife that she is, and this is a big thing, like a woman will take you so far, is she agreed with me and said, go ahead. So I dropped that money. I took my wife's, basically had to take her SUV out of her hands and then and be like, yeah, we're going to stick to a 5-passenger Altima that already has 2 big car seat in, and I'm going to try to, try going grocery shopping in an Altima with 2 babies in the car. It is not the funnest thing.
No, I love it. Someone actually commented, got a lot in common. And that's what I was thinking when I hear you talk, because, I grew up, absentee father, and I'm still thinking today, I'm like, man, like I still don't know. Like, I need to go tell my kids, like, I'm sorry. Like, no one ever told me and showed me how to be a dad. Like, I hope I'm doing okay, because there isn't like that unless you join a coaching program, right? Unless you find these mentors and stuff. And it's so real, right? And like my wife, same thing. Like, dude, I've invested in coaches. I just hired one now that I've spent more than on one coaching program than any time of my life, and she doesn't bat an eye because she trusts me and she supports me and everything. And yeah, it means that we can't go on like a badass vacation or something. Like there is sacrifice there, but she knows it's for the greater good. So yeah, I love your story, man. It's great.
Yeah, and one thing that you said there that I love is that, like, like, you're doing a good job, you specifically, because of what you're doing, right? When you're in the certain, like, the example you set, like, we live by this thing, like, our daughters will eventually, like, marry us because they will marry a man like us. Like, it's just how it works. And our sons will become us. They'll become the man we are. So I have to look in the mirror every day, like, how would I react if my daughter married a man like me? How would I react if my son turned out to be a man like me? And if I'm not happy that day, then I better change something.
Hmm. Yeah, I
So,
like
like,
that.
coaching's important, man, because, like, you see in other coaches too, like, but you see in other people and other entrepreneurs and coachees, the people you're coaching, you see what's possible and the potential for them. Us as, like, the people who get the coaching, and I'm very blessed that that I am coaching now, which has been really cool. But, like, we have a limited mindset going into coaching still. That's why we have to get it, because we don't really know what's possible, right? People talk about goals. I don't care about goals. I care about targets. I have measurable targets that I need to hit. Like, the goal stuff that's if we don't have a plan of action, right? And only the coaches who have been in that situation and then overcame it and are in the current situation that we want to be a part of, those are the people that are going to bring us where we need to go, because they've already done it, they've seen it, and they see what we have in us that we don't see in ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. No, it's crazy. Like now that I'm like on the other side of it, like as a coach, it's like I truly see these people's full potential, like a totally different perspective, and they're like so limited in that. And then same thing, I look at me, and then my coach, he's looking at me like, dude, like, do you even know? Like, you're not maxing out. Like, what are those targets? Like, let's get you there. So, it's you're always coaching someone, and you're always being coached by someone. I feel like whether you sign up for a formal program or not.
100%. I think that's like a rule of thumb. That's one rule of thumb we talk about is you need to have somebody like they say you're the sum of 5 people, right? So you
Hmm.
should have two ahead of you. You should have two behind you. So you have 2 people you're pulling up. Well, these 2 people are pulling you up because it all works in inverse, I guess you could say. But
Nice. Well, that's cool. So yeah, you're in the coaching program, and now you're actually one of the coaches in the program you originally joined.
yeah, exactly. That's funny. That's actually the name. It's the program. But
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
like yeah, funny enough. That's why when you said, I was like, "How do you know the name?" But okay. but but yeah,
I'm just
it's
that good.
what'd you say?
I'm just that good. I just
Hundred
yeah,
percent.
just me.
But yeah, it's I made I was one of the first guys in, which is crazy. And there's and I went through the whole thing. I've done a lot of stuff, but because of the leaps and bounds that I made and the way I'm able to, I could say, I guess, articulate. But because I've been in this for a very long time, even prior to this coaching, this thing just took me to a whole new level. Where I needed to get to, and then now it's really for me. Like I get to coach alongside my first mentor who's seen me since I was 16 years old and I'm 26, and he's just like looks at my life. He's like, bro, every month he reminds me, he's like, you thought ramen, he's like, yesterday I got the message, you thought hamburger helper was the goal. Because on my social media, my first post ever on Instagram was a picture of some gross looking hamburger helper, and I thought I was just balling at
Yeah,
16.
exactly.
So
Like,
yeah.
well, I get 2 packages tonight. Oh yeah.
I was the man. I was like, I'm about to have a belly full for the first time this week. It felt great, man.
Well, what I like about your perspective too is you're in kind of an interesting part of your life where I mean you're still super young, but you're a team member, you're an employee, you work for someone, but you also own your own business and you coach. Like a lot of times I think people like at least when I was running my landscape lighting business, like I wouldn't think of like investing in coaching for my team members, but because I thought that was like a business owner thing or whatever. But if you think about it, like why wouldn't you want to have be in a coaching program, even if you're not the owner of the company? Like it's okay at any level to find someone ahead of you that you want to be like. So that's cool.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of like my role I've taken on here over the last like 4 years is they kind of put me around and make me like if you go look in our office, it used to always be like certain stuff like we're always set up with energy drinks and stuff like that, but it was always more even like junk food and stuff like that. And I've gotten every person in this office on a hydration supplement, an electrolyte. I've got them on a focus formula. I've got them on a sleep formula if they need help sleeping. Like I'm like you need to be at top at all times and like so
I love it.
it's
Okay,
just
so
funny.
I'm probably signing up for all this stuff at the end of this podcast. So stick around. So let's jump and get into some Sotella stuff. I want to talk reviews because I love actually the subject. I love the strategy. First of all, I guess why are reviews so important? I know that like most people know that they are, but then you look at their business profile, and I'm like, do they know that they're important? Because they're not trying to get them, and they don't have that many. So why are they so important?
I there's so many things. If anybody even does a simple Google search, why are reviews important for my business? You're going to see 1,000 statistics. Like 89% of people will look at your reviews before they call you. I think it was 8 out of 10 people see a 5-star review is as good as a word of mouth referral. Just imagine that you're just getting the feedback from a happy client, and that is as good as that person having a friend who told them about your business.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
if it's so important, like why aren't people getting them every week? Why like they'll let 4 months go or 6 months go and like, okay, I'll get another one randomly here and there.
I think there's a few things around there, but I think one, it's hard. I think we forget that a lot of the time, like I heard the saying, it was like adults are still kind of like children. You got to ask more than once.
Mm.
For me, it's like, you know, I don't use this as a crutch or nothing. Like I think it's a superpower, but I've got like ADHD, right? It's like the thing nowadays. But been diagnosed, gone through all that stuff, and like I for if you're asking me a question and I'm in the middle of multitasking, like picking my kid up from her like private school, and they say, "Hey, make sure you give us a 5-star." Like I'm not going to remember in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk to my car. By the time my kid's sitting down, I forgot all about you. And it's not that I work for a review company and this still happens. So it's not like people don't want to leave you reviews because I've talked to business owners who are like feel like it's weird asking. I'm like, why would it be weird to ask somebody to rate your business? It's not. It's absolutely a lot of people are willing to give a review just because they loved your service. But then there's also, different ways you can kind of go about it. But I think it's just the lack of asking and the lack of follow-up. That's a big thing,
Yeah.
and the lack of options. A lot of the times people want to limit to like one platform, like just give me a Google. Only half the United States has a Google account, 53% to be exact. But I mean,
And they
that
may
should
not,
tell you.
and they may not be logged in and remember their password either.
Exactly, especially if you're going through that, if you're just sending them a link and it might require them to log into their account and then they got to go leave it. Like we're asking too many steps. If you're not going to have I say automated, should be like everything. You need to have it automated, but if you don't have a great follow-up process, if you don't have it easy, that's going to take them like less than 20 seconds to do it. I would not expect them to leave you a review unless you're going to hound them and you're going to make them do it on their phone right in front of you before you walk out that door.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, so tell us a little bit. I know you guys are big on like video reviews, which is new and I think different and exciting. I feel like there's a lot of platforms that offer some type of review automation now. I mean, 5, 10 years ago, it was really new. Now it seems like there's a lot that's like, okay, if you want us to automate your reviews, well, let's talk about like what's the difference between a video and a written review?
Well, the way we look at it, and this isn't like a real statistic, but we always say like one video is worth at least 10 writtens. And the reason we kind of get that is if you look online, look up what majority of today's traffic is. Google's going to show you over 80% of today's traffic online as a whole is video. So think about this. What is the fastest growing social media platform in history and today? TikTok. Right? I don't use it. Not a big fan of it, but I do know that TikTok is the fast growing platform. I do know that it's one of the biggest ones and it's been around for 2 years or something. And that's because it's all video. Now go and look at Instagram, go and look at Facebook. Everything is reverted to stories and reels, stuff that is video because the way that online has been kind of created is just to get quick attention.
Yep.
Quick attention. And nobody cares about reading a 5-star that says highly recommend anymore. If they could see a video of somebody who's got their emotion, you can't fake a video. It's a real person.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like you got somebody on there showing their emotion, their gratitude, their excitement all over your service. Like that's going to go a lot farther of somebody looking at your social proof and like, what have you done? Because people buy off the experience. Like people care way less about, people do care about price and certain things, but the one thing they care about the most is, and it's proven, people are willing to spend more money as long as they know they're going to get the great experience. And if they could see it for themselves, what that experience actually looks like, they're way more likely to actually buy.
Cool.
Because they're like,
I
I
love it.
want that.
So how does it work? Is it harder to get someone to do a video review? What does that process look like? Do you expect them to a certain percentage to decline the video and just do the written? How does that whole process work?
Yeah. So believe it or not, we get a ton of videos. We capture hundreds of thousands to millions of reviews, and 35 to 40% of those are videos. Obviously, getting writtens are still great. We still make that process very simple, but videos in general, like, again, it's like everything else. It needs to be very simple. Our team personally actually so we have a patented pending mobile app where you can get reviews in person. So it's cool because you pull your app up, click a button, put the customer's initials and then their number in, boom, get their video on the spot, and it automatically markets, right? So when that happens,
you'll actually ask for it and video it yourself, or you'll send them a link and they'll video it.
So you could do either or.
Okay.
You could pull an app up on your phone and get it in 20 seconds and just record it. We have like scripts and training on that, and just having some very simple stuff. Get 3 questions you want them to answer. Prep them before it and just say, hey, I'm going to ask you, give me 3 things you loved about my service today. They're going to give it to you right off the bat. They're not feeling pressured. Great. Could you say that one more time for me and give me that on a video review? They're going to be fine with it.
Cool.
They give it to you right there. Great. The other way is we send a text or email. All they do is click a link. You'll see video or written. When they click video, the best part is it actually opens their video camera up for them. And it just lets them start recording. And they can retake it if they need to. But again, it's like everything else. It needs to be simplified. It needs to be fast and very, very easy.
Very cool. Okay. So most of your clients then are doing it in person. They get the review. What happens when they record the video? What happens after that?
So the same thing happens with that video review that happens with all the rest of them. Like if they get a Google or anything, they're going to get marketed immediately in real time. So they go straight to like your website because you need to have social proof on your site. Having just 20 plus reviews on your site's been shown to increase conversions up to like 80%. But then it goes to your social media. We also index them right into the search engine. So now you have all these different landing pages that backlink to your site that all have these videos on there. We also get the customer to share the video review or whatever review on their Facebook page, right? And then that's the
And
cool
so,
thing.
is there an automation prompt that sends that to them, like, "Hey, share this"?
Yes. So as soon as they capture the video, as soon as they leave the video, it says, "Thank you. Would you mind? You could share with somebody directly, or just click share on Facebook. If you have the app, it just pulls it up. If you don't, it will try to log you in through your browser, and then it just immediately lets you share it on Facebook. And they can even share it with a call to action from the business. So now you've got somebody referring you, but also giving out an incentive from your company. So now their friends get to see how much they love you, but also have an incentive to try your business out.
Cool. Love that. That's killer. How often do you get a new client and you find that they're not posting to their website? You pull up their website and there's no reviews on there.
So, I mean, with us, our system's doing it automatically, so they don't ever have to do anything like that.
Well, I know,
The
but like when like I reach out to you now, I'm like,
Oh,
"Hey, I want to sign up," because I feel like most people aren't doing these small things. Like you said, like
yeah.
having reviews on your website is proven to increase conversion. And there's
Mhm.
people right now that are slow and they can't figure out why they're not getting as many leads as they used to. Well, there's a lot of factors behind that, but if you did small changes like this, you're going to increase the chances of you getting quality leads. So I just feel like I see so many websites and small fraction of them have reviews on there.
Yeah, and here's a cool tip for everybody who listens to this, and this is a free gold right here. If you have a testimonial page on your site, just change the name to reviews. Okay, simply because testimonials are not verified. People don't know if they're real. I mean, even if they are, it doesn't matter to the average consumer. They don't see it as a real review, which is why they're one of the least visited pages. A reviews page on your site is one of the most visited pages on a website.
Nice. That's cool.
So yeah, I say find 20, 20 of your best Googles, Facebooks, even if it's combined, whatever, put them somewhere on the homepage or somewhere where they can see them instantly so it gets their attention, and then have a full reviews page set as well. Those things will make a difference in the conversion and actually keeping clients on your site so they stay on longer as well.
Yeah, that's way cool. I like that. All right, so we talked about the process. We ask, as many times as we can in person, but then you guys are going to follow up with some automation prompts as well, right? So if they are picking their kid up from school or whatever, like, oh yeah, I want to do the review, but I'm also super busy right now. How often are you going to hit them up on the back end?
So the setup default automation is once they get the invite, if they don't give the review, they're going to get another invite that same day because it's still fresh in their mind, the service. So we want to get them when they're the most excited. If they still don't leave one, then they're going to get another follow up 48 hours after the initial invite. So there's 3 messages within 2 days that's going to hit them. Now, if for some reason they still haven't, we let our clients can tell us how they want to kind of personalize the rest of it so we can restart the follow-up process like after a week, 2 weeks, or a month. We typically recommend a month if they haven't, especially for like, let's say, some landscaping companies. If you have a reoccurring customer, right, if they didn't give you it the first time, get it on the second time for sure. If they've already given you a review, then we'll get another review. I would get another review the next time, or at the very least, you should get some form of feedback because their experience with you could have changed the first time opposed to 6 months down the road. Maybe you changed employees, maybe something else has happened to the business. They don't know, which is also why it's very important to consistently get reviews. A lot of people think, oh, I'll get a couple hundred and I'm good. I don't got to worry about it. People disregard reviews that are older than 90 days. It's very, very common. The statistic is 78%. But yeah, so
Yeah,
you want
I've
to make sure
I've
you're getting that.
experienced that. I've seen where I'm like, oh, they have good reviews, and then I'll look into it, like, I'll call and I'm like, "Oh, that's kinda weird," or whatever, like, it doesn't come across as, like, this five-star company, and I'll look and I'll see, oh, the last review was, like, 6 months ago, Oh, wait, and so was, like, all 200 of their reviews was 6 months ago, like, they did a promotion, like, "Hey, give
Yep.
us a review, we'll give you a free service," or whatever. That's a major turnoff for me as a consumer when I see them all coming in at the same time, so you're totally right, like, I think you've gotta have them regularly occurring, and that stat is a stat of 90 days, so why not just get them every week?
100%. I
Is there
couldn't
a
agree more.
number that, like I know you said, like, don't just stop at 200 or whatever the number is because you're good, but is there a number that you've seen that is really a good number that's gonna dominate what anyone else is doing? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Like, how many Google, how many Facebook, how many Houzz reviews do we need?
So there is no number. I've seen in different the crazy thing about like how many you have really varies a lot of the time throughout industries. So like we might work with an agent and we get them 50 reviews on Google. They look like kings, right? Like not a lot of people are getting 50 reviews on their real estate business. But we have a home service business, let's say, maybe plumbing or something or even landscaping. Getting 120 reviews on there is, kind of more common. So to really adhere to Google's algorithm, you have to continuously play the game. That this is why our system hits on a lot of this, but I always like to tell people how they can optimize their listing. Like you need to be getting reviews consistently because every time you do, that's a reward. That's a reward. Google likes that. Reply to your reviews. Post to your Google My Business on a weekly basis. Google has so many things inside of their algorithm that determines who should be ranking that you've got to do what I call completing the Google pie. You got to hit all the key features. You got to use all the ingredients that they want. So there's not really a set limit. It depends on the amount of volume that you have, but I would definitely say like you should have at minimum of like 50% of your clientele base should probably have left you a review at least by now. I would say
Okay,
that would
cool.
be the thing is have 50% of your clients, whatever that is, that's the number of reviews you should have.
Yeah, okay. And then I know a lot of people are concerned about like, well, this sounds great, but what if I get a bad review and it's automated? So then we send the thing out to the guy who's like pissed at us right now, and we're basically making it easy for him to throw us under the bus.
Right. So for our system, we do have like a star rating. The cool thing is like if they do leave that, we capture the review on our platform, so they still get to leave you a verified review. The cool thing is it's not in the same places, so it's not found as easy or anything like that. And instead, we just notify you. We give you a chance to contact and fix the issue, but this way, it's also not really damaging your online reputation at all, and it's
Cool.
not like showing up everywhere.
Yeah, I like that. And honestly, I was in a state of mind like that at one point in my business. And then I started thinking, well, if I'm thinking like that, like maybe we should change how we do business. Maybe like we could do better at our processes and stuff like that. And I actually appreciated when someone I didn't want a 1-star review. And sometimes there's just crazies that there's nothing you can do. Like they're gonna do it. But there was other opportunities where I had the opportunity to reach out to them and say, hey, looks like we screwed up. What happened, and we could go out and make that better and turn that into a 5-star review. So it's a good gauge. Your reviews are like if you have a 3.9, then something's wrong with your business. Find what's broken and fix it. If you've got a 4.9, then you're doing awesome. So I don't mind if someone gives me a bad review. Obviously, I don't want it, but it shows
Right.
me what areas I can work on.
Right. And that's why earlier when I said like make sure you're consistently asking, even if it's the same client, even if we're just going to get a star rating, get the feedback, like we work with schools and they cap out on enrollments. You can only have certain amount of children inside of like a child care center. So they're like, well, what do we do? And we're huge in that space too. And we're like, well, we're going to reach out to these parents quarterly. We want to see what their feedback's like. Like the first day of school, my kid's excited, had a great time. The teacher's all in the playful stuff. Like my kid's coming home happy. I'm feeling great about the school. I'll give him a 5-star right then and there. But it might be 2 quarters down the road. We might be in the third quarter. All of a sudden, my kid's not learning anymore or something, and she's not making the progress that we see to be possible or whatever the case is. And so we're like, well, what's going on? Like, they might ask us for a feedback, and I'm like, well, here's a 3-star. I'm not upset, but I want it. Like, this is what I'm feeling like right now. I'm not seeing, the results that I really want to. And I've talked to the teacher. Maybe that teacher is having going through some stuff, and now she's bringing down the quality of the education just because they. And I'm not, it's just something that can happen. But your client's experience can change. There might need to be retraining. There might need to be rehiring, whatever the case is, but it's good to gauge your client's experience consistently, not just one time.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. And I noticed on your website, you help out with other things like you've got live chat options. You mentioned Google, like posting regularly to, I don't even know what it's called anymore. GMB is what I call it. Uh,
Yeah.
do you guys offer those? You still offer those services?
Yeah, the cool thing is all that stuff's already included in like our packaging.
Oh, nice.
We don't even upsell people on it. It's just already included. Like when we add on new stuff, it just goes right into the certain plans that they're involved in.
Cool.
But yeah, that's what I talked about with the GMB posting. Very, very, very big thing that if you're not posting your GMB, anybody listening to this, go make a post into there like right now. Like Google's looking and they want to see that.
Yeah, like I feel like even if you're running Google ads, like I try to do everything. Like I don't know. I have not looked into this, but I feel like if I'm running Google ads, and I know they look at a lot of different things, but I'm like I feel like your reviews and your uh what's it called, the thing we are just talking about, the Google My Business posting.
Mhm.
I feel like they look at all that and they reward you. So I'm like, I think my ads are going to outrank somebody else's if I'm doing all those other things. I don't know if that's proven or not, but I
No, it is
can't see
one
them punishing me.
No, 100% you're right. And that is proven because that's literally what Google's algorithm is. We determine and want to see because their job is simple. Their job is how do we provide, when somebody searches something, how do we provide the newest, freshest, most valuable content to these people in the search, right? They're not going to take somebody who's spending, even if they're spending $40,000 a month, you might still get lucky because you're spending an insane amount of money and
Right.
actually get to the front page. But when they see you, who is going to buy your service? Now, like Google's in a way reputation falls because they're recommending low quality service businesses. So they're not going to do that. So sometimes you might not even qualify. It just kind of depends on, with their Google ads, people are a little bit different nowadays. But yeah, I mean, the more you adhere to, like, Google's kind of like the overlord online, not the biggest fan of them, to be honest with you, but you got to play the game if you want to win it. So you
Don't
got
say
to
that
do what
too
they want.
loud. They're always listening.
I
Okay.
know.
Love you, Google. We'll do whatever you want. We'll bow. Okay.
Yeah, we love you guys over there.
You're the best. Okay, well, that's really cool. That's awesome. Those things are included. So, I know you put together an offer. So we basically have two things. Number one, there's an offer for people who are listening to the podcast. There's another super secret offer which we can't talk about, which is only for members of Landscape Lighting Secrets. One of the things I do is I try to negotiate the best deals possible for members of my coaching program, so that the savings they get from vendors like yourself are actually more than the amount that they're paying me, which is incredible, right? Like they even if they didn't like the content that I taught, they'd save money by joining my coaching program. Like that's really, really cool. But what's the offer that we're going to do today for listeners of Lighting for Profits?
So, what we're gonna do for the listeners now, because we're gonna run some, we've talked and we want to run something kind of big for this. So it's gonna be a limited time thing.
Okay.
So for the month of August, we want to give every listener on here a chance at claiming our top plan. Usually it's 199 a month. We're gonna give everybody, which includes everything we talked about, including a ton more. But we're going to give you that plan. And we don't do contracts for only $99 a month for life. Okay, so instead of $200, you get it for only $99 a month
That's
for
awesome.
life with no increase in price. And I sent you over that link. There's going to be a link there that if they want, they can also feel free to schedule a demo. The ones that they'll schedule through that link will come over to me, so I'll talk to them, and you guys can talk to me on there, and I can answer any questions and stuff that you have. If you do talk to one of my sales guys over here, you need to mention Ryan's name and that you heard this podcast, or because like that's how these guys over there feed their families. So if you want to make sure you get that deal, you need to mention Ryan, and they'll make sure that you're taken care of because I've already got it taken care of.
Cool. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you doing that. So that's a smoking deal. That'll save you $1,200 a year. It's sotellus.com/LLS is the link. I went ahead and put it in the comments as well, but sotellus.com/LLS. Yeah, I appreciate you guys doing that. That's killer.
Yeah, man. Of course. Like we were talking about earlier, I love what you're doing here. We work already in this space very heavily. I know we're going to see each other at the huge. So,
That's
um,
right.
I was at their last one. I don't know if I might be there because we've actually were the main sponsors there for the last 2 years. We've been going for like 5, but this year we're still a sponsor. I don't think we're not the main sponsor. This year will actually be the 2 owners, Troy and Trevor. You'll see them there. They have like a breakout room and stuff, but I'm sure you'll run into them and you'll see them at the booth and stuff.
Cool. That's awesome. All right. Well, did we cover everything? Did we forget anything?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think we covered most of
We
everything.
got it all. If you guys have any questions, just reach out to them. Of course, you can use that link, sotellus.com/LLS. That's going to give you the hookup for the rest of the months. But that does expire the end of August. So if you have any questions, just go onto their website, reach out to them, mention that you heard about them here on the podcast, mention Ryan Lee, whatever, Lighting for Profits. I'm sure they'll figure it out. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Nick, I really appreciate you coming on here, man. Thanks for taking the time out of your day, sharing your story with us, being vulnerable. I learned a lot. I was inspired a lot. So I really appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you having me on here, and talking to you. Appreciate being on here and just being able to bring some form of value to everybody. So, yeah, man, I'm very grateful.
That was great. I appreciate it. All right, guys, you guys have an awesome week. Don't forget, come see me at the Huge. Sotellus will be there. Come see me at Garden Light the following month, and then got to join Landscape Lighting Secrets if you want to be at the first ever members only event in Nashville. You guys have an awesome week.